You an Obama effect with Katt.
I seen his interview. He's a sweetheart. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Cass,
but that's what I am gonna say.
What?
I'm sorry, but my man is sexy to me.
I forgot.
We just need to be all the way clear on that.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Club Shay Shay. I am your host, Shannon Sharpe. I'm also the proprietor of Club Shay Shay. The lady that's stopping by for a conversation and a drink today, she has 30 years in the film industry, one of Hollywood's most sought-after actresses. She's delivered iconic performances in over 100 films, TV shows, and commercials. She's headlined Hollywood's biggest blockbusters and helped generate over $1 billion at the box office. She was in a film that was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. An award-winning actor, writer, producer, director, a gifted performer, talented model, New York Times best-selling author. She's a stalwart in the entertainment industry, the multi-talented Meagan Good.
I like that. Thank you.
Did I do you right?
You did. I didn't even know about the one. What was the multicultural?
Were you the Library of Congress?
Yeah.
Film? Yeah.
What film is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You're doing it.
Yes.
So you know what? Since we popped something on you didn't know, I have my own cognac. This is Chez by Le Portier. It's named after my grandmother. Porter in French is Le Portier. So I named it after my grandmother, and I want to toast, love to toast your success.
Thank
30
you.
years in the business.
Yes.
Hopefully 30 more.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's nice. That's very nice.
But let that you see you know.
You did, Grandma.
Yes. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Meagan, thank you for stopping by. I understand that you're extremely busy with your time, your energy, your movie career is doing great. And for you to give me a few moments of your time today, I greatly appreciate that.
No, I greatly appreciate you.
You know what? So let's get right into it. You've been at this thing. You started like when you was 4 years old. Did you know you always wanted to do? How did the commercial aspect of this thing start?
You know what's interesting is I grew up in Santa Clarita, California, back when it was called Canyon Country in the 80s.
Okay.
So we were like one of one black family for a long time until I was almost like 13-ish.
Okay.
And in in that time, for me, it was more like there was a little bit of bullying and different things going on. And my mom was like, okay, well, hobby wise, what is it that you want to do that can be your thing, your safe space? And I was like, I want to act. And she was like, okay. So then she put me into acting, me and my older sister, Lamaya.
Okay.
I was 4, she was 6. And it just started off as commercials, everything from Cheerios to Pringles to Barbie to whatever you could think of. And then from that, when you say started from the bottom, it went from like being next to the person who was like the lead person on set. My mom would be like, just get next to her and have a lot of energy. So you do that, and the next
So
thing
you like an extra?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was an extra for a long time.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And then that led to being on camera, and that led to one line led to 2. 3 lines led to a scene led to 4 scenes, 4 scenes led to being a regular or a guest star or something like that, and then from so on and so on. So yeah, I started from the bottom, built my way all the way. Yeah.
Because you started from the bottom, did you ever become discouraged because you didn't get the speaking parts originally, and that you just had to stand there and smile and put on your best face, your best foot forward? Did you ever get discouraged? Like, I don't know, Mom.
No, I actually felt it a challenge.
Okay.
I was like, y'all gonna see me. Y'all gonna give me a chance. And it's interesting because I don't really know where I get that from, but I had a lot of teachers that were like, oh, that's not a realistic career, or, honey, no. And I'd be like, just wait, one day you'll see. And I've just always kind of had that mentality. So for me to continue to just grow and grow and grow, it's been a blessing. And I think a slow, steady climb, I think, is healthy for any actor, but any person in general, because it teaches you along the way to have humility, to remember where you came from, to understand, especially within this industry, this thing goes up and down. You could show up one day, to a club and you standing outside for 45 minutes. You could show up next month and have a movie out and walk in with 5 guys and get a free table and a bottle. And then you can come back 6 months later and not have a movie out and wait for 15 minutes, And so all of that along the journey has allowed me to have perspective and remind me, this is not who I am. It's just what I do, and I get to do it. So.
Where did you develop this confidence from? Because it seems you are a very confident young woman.
Thank you.
That you understand that, like, you know what, it might not happen today,
right.
but tomorrow is a different day.
Yeah.
How did you remain confident even though you weren't getting those speaking scenes in the beginning?
I think my mom is, and God really, like, just knowing that God's timing is perfect timing. And as they always say with the kids, people's rejection is God's protection. And my mom just always saying, like, just wait, just keep doing your best, keep putting your best foot forward, just show up. And then, there's always the reality of, like, you have to carry the crown before you wear it. And then I think once you've worn it, you got to remember sometimes to carry it again for someone else. And so my mom has always instilled that in my sister and I. And for me, it's never been a question. I remember being like 19 and being like, Lord, I didn't even ask you if this is what you have for me. So let me ask you first. And then once I got that confirmation, but that it was bigger than just being in the industry. It's about using your platform for something greater than you. But when I got that confirmation, then I was like, there's nothing nobody can tell me. I was like, it's just a matter of time. So.
Do you remember your first commercial and that audition?
I remember the first commercial on set.
Okay.
I was 4. It was a Marshall Fields commercial. And I was like a little girl with a bunch of little kids, like out on a picnic. And they had a little dog that was trained. And the guy was holding the food just above the camera to get the dog to kind of spin around in a little circle. And that's just what I remember about it.
I mean, you've been in over 60 televised commercials.
Yeah.
What do you remember? What was your favorite commercial? What do you remember most about doing that?
My favorite commercial was probably a Pringles commercial.
Okay.
And it was like, Pringle Pop got the yum, 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 with a kick of calcium, talking yum to the maximum, plus a whole kick of calcium.
Right.
Anyway, so, it was about the Pringles having more calcium.
Right.
And we did a lot of dancing. And I remember that vividly because, 1, I was the only black kid, which was often the case. But 2, it was the first time anyone got me into fitted jeans. And I was 14. And before that, I was like straight up like TLC, cross color, like, Jabot boss, like just my cousin's shorts.
Right.
I was like, stringing around my waist with like a belt to make them jeans for me. And I used to get sent home all the time because my clothes were too big. And it was the first time I put on some tight pants.
Right.
And I just liked them so much. I wore them to school the next day. And the boys was like, you got a little apple? And I'm like, I do? So after that, yeah, the rest is history.
Did you ever freeze? Did you ever get stage fright? Or were you always a natural that the cameras, you like, I don't even really see the cameras.
Right.
I'm on my own. I'm at home. I'm in my room. I'm in front of my mirror.
Right.
I got a brush and I'm just doing this. Did you ever have stage fright?
I think the first time on a job, like the first day, I always have first day of school, like jitters, like nerves, and you just want to get it right, and you just want to figure out the character, and you just want to be in tune with everything that needs to happen. I don't think I've ever froze before. I think the only time I've frozen is when I was working on this job that it was a very, very big director, a very, very expensive job, and I just felt a lot of pressure. I was the lead, and it was kind of an iconic remake of something, reboot of something. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many hands in the pot and so many different people giving me directions.
Right.
And as a child actor, you just learn to kind of do what you're told.
Right.
And so when you have 4 different important people telling you to do something completely different, even at 34, I kind of just didn't know how to navigate that and like who to please first. And I just started to get so stressed out that I started to actually just forget my lines and completely forget them. And that was probably the most challenging job I've ever worked on because it took me until this young black director came in and was like, I know who you are. I know what you can do. Trust yourself. I'm not going to bother you. For me to go, okay. And then from there on, it was, a great experience.
That was the reassurance that you needed.
Yeah.
That you could do this.
Yeah.
You were doing great at this.
Yeah.
But you were hearing too many voices.
Yeah, and also to just stand up for myself
Right.
and just be like, look, y'all, one of you come and tell me. You guys decide what the 4 of you guys want to do, and then one person, probably the director, because that's the only person who should be talking to me while I'm filming. Just come tell me what you need me to do. And I mean, it was very pivotal for me because I walked away from it initially going, yeah, I don't know if I want to act anymore.
Really?
Yeah, because it was.
You got that discouraged?
Yeah, it was almost traumatizing because there was one director who came on that was yelling at me. Like there was a stunt that we were doing and he told me no matter what not to stop, and I was like, well, if it looks like someone's going to get hurt, then I'm going to stop. And then also it went from the stunt guy doing it to the actor doing the stunt. And in one case, yeah, I felt that me running up and grabbing this guy from behind, we were both going to fall down the hill. So I stopped and he just came out of the tent and was like, don't stop, just screamed at me. And it was the first time in my professional career where I was like, what do you want me to do? Like I flipped out because I was like, yo, I am so nice. I am so kind. I am so easygoing. Like this dude was like wilding. And I was like, you know what? At some point. And then after that, everyone was like, because they knew me and they knew that I'm like trying to,
really easygoing. And for you to snap like that, you probably had it up to not here to up to here.
Listen, I was donezo because it just, it was completely inappropriate.
Right.
And anybody else wouldn't have thought twice about saying, don't talk to me like that. But because I came from the background I came from, and possibly because I was a black woman, I just was a little bit, and then once I said, look, that's enough. But it was interesting because he left to film something else and had to come back like on one of the last days to film a scene with me. And after I filmed the scene with him, I realized that I was like sweating profusely. And my hands were shaking because that's how like under
he brought
skin.
That on.
Yeah, he almost gave me like an anxiety to just So anyway, I made it though.
Was that the first time? Was that the moment that you decided that you needed to stand up for yourself?
Yeah, I think so. That was probably the first moment because the first thing he did before that was embarrass me in front of the crew because I had like this big dialogue and I was going over it and then he was like, just say it, and I was like, yeah, I'm about to. And he was like, no, everyone hold your work. Mind you, there's like 200 people on set. He said, everybody stop. Everyone stop what you're doing. Say the line. And I was like, and I was just so caught off guard that I had started saying it, but I was like fumbling through it. And then he was just like, you've done it 100 times. You've done it 100. Like he just like reprimanded me like I was a child in front of the whole crew. So there was that moment and I cried about that. So the next time he came for me, he got what he asked for. I am a Leo after all. I'm as kind as they come, baby. I try to make the best atmosphere for everybody and just best quality of life and just love. But I was like, okay, I've reached my limit with you. Yeah, because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
Okay, that's what's up. And then you were the extra. You were in the movie Doogie Howser, Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah. Sherman Hemsley, who's most notably named for Good, the Jefferson. Yeah. He had a show called Amen.
Yeah. As
being an extra, do you like maybe try to steal a scene? Do you like?
Oh yeah, you try to not necessarily steal a scene. You just try to make sure that whatever you're doing counts.
Okay.
Because if you do that, then they might be like, you know what, this kid is good. Let's move him up to a principal role. Let's make sure they're on camera.
Oh, okay.
And that's literally how I made my way up.
Really?
Yeah.
So you elevated where you bumped some kid down?
Oh no, I would never push anyone over, kick anyone over, step over anybody to get to where I'm going. I'm just making my own lane.
Right.
So yeah.
What do you remember most about those days in your first acting? I'm talking I understand that TV ads are one thing, but then now you're on a sitcom, you're on a television series.
Yes.
What do you remember most about that?
Well, what's interesting is I did TV probably up until I was like 19.
Okay.
So the last two things I did was Cousin Skeeter, Nickelodeon, which I did for almost 4 years. I grew up on that show with Robert Rashad. And then I switched over because there was a strike at the time. And I just said, I don't want to do more TV. I just want to focus on movies. Because Terrence Howard had said to me, when you finish this show, I want you to be a young woman who travels the world and plays different characters and jumps all around, does all these different things. So my advice to you is don't do a TV show again until you're married and you have kids and you want something that's a lot more stable. You want to know the character you're going to play, where you're going to go every day, all those things. Until then, travel the world and play different characters. So I came out of that show saying, I don't want to do TV. And then there was a strike. So I did a show with Brie Larson and Katt Dennings and Bob Saget, who I loved so much. And then I actually left that show to go do Deliver Us from Eva. And that was the beginning of my, trajectory, my film career.
You were homeschooled.
Yeah.
Basically your entire...
high school.
High school.
Yeah.
Just high school.
Yeah, just high school.
I read where you got bullied. Did you get homeschooled because you got bullied and it was the safe space for you to be at home, or what caused that?
I got homeschooled because I was on that Nickelodeon show, and because it was too hard to go
to school, juggle.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, I'm never one to back down from a fight. So if someone's bullying me, I'm not gonna let them bully me out of submission.
Right.
But yeah, it was mainly just because I was working so much as an actor. It just made more sense. Yeah.
I read that you got jumped. Do you think it had something to do with you being on that Nickelodeon show?
Yeah, it very much did.
But it took 5 though.
It did take 5. That
you was swinging on them.
It took
Meagan, you was
5.
swinging like
No, because when I realized it was all coming from my face, I was like, oh no, we're not gonna do that. So I actually laid down on the ground, and back then that's when the big clunker shoes were really popular. I started kicking people in the gut. Anybody who came near me, I just spin around kicking them in the gut. And it's so funny because I ran into this girl some years later, and she had told a mutual friend of ours that she had just beat me up, and I was like, no, you and 4 other hookers beat me up. What is you saying right now? And it's crazy because after that fight happened, I went looking for that girl all around town because I was like, I just want to fight just you. And the Lord told me not to do it. And I did it, and I found some of her friends, and then some guys came, and then I had some of my guys come, and the next thing you know, people have shanks and all kinds of things going out, and we have a huge brawl inside of Jerry's Deli, and I broke the back of my nail back breaking a chair on someone's back who was choking my friend. And by the time we got out to the parking lot, somebody pulled up on a motorcycle with a gun and threatened to shoot us all, and we all went running like cockroaches, and then I was in the bushes praying, and I was like, Lord, I didn't listen, and this wasn't right, and now everybody else's life is in danger. And after that, that particular guy actually ended up getting into a situation where someone shot him but didn't kill him but hurt him, and I found out where he was at, because after that I was scared for my life for like 2 weeks. I went to his hospital room and said, look, let's just squash the beef, blah, blah, blah. And about a year later, I'm on a TV show doing a reoccurring role, and he's one of the writers on the show, and we've been friends ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, you about that life growing up? I mean, I'm
a KU country girl, but I've been around a lot of crazy.
I'm looking at your petite self, and you know, you're like, okay, you on TV. You like, I ain't gonna mess up my face. I ain't gonna mess up my nails. And you was like, bought it.
Because I just felt like I just couldn't believe that somebody had like taken it upon themselves to come into my space. And the reason that the girls did it is because they were like, oh, aren't you that one girl from that TV show? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, you think you all that? And I was like,
yeah.
No. I was like, you the one who said that. You think I'm all that. And then they was like, come outside. I was like, no, I'm not going outside. And then that became them jumping me. So I just couldn't let it be. But now I know better, because it ain't worth it. Right. If someone had actually gotten hurt, you know, I don't think I could live that down. So
I read that a teacher, she did something. She tear your homework up. She misplaced your homework.
Which teacher? Because where I grew up in Santa Clarita, like I said, there was a lot of racism. Right, so I had trouble with at least my 5th grade teacher and my 6th grade teacher. Okay. My 5th grade teacher actually slapped me on the back. My mom got her suspended. And then my 6th grade teacher just really picked on me. It's like if I wore a lip gloss, she'd take my lip gloss, but she let the other little girls who didn't have the same complexion as me wear lip gloss. Oh, okay. She'd take my things and put them in the June box. And then in this particular instance, my dad had given me these coins. And because my dad was LAPD and my mom and my dad weren't together, we didn't always see our dad that often at that time. So anytime he gave me a collection of coins, it was like a really big deal to me. And the teacher took them and put them in the June box. So I was supposed to get them back in June. And another little girl was like, oh, those are mine. I was like, no, those aren't. And she's like, yes, they are. And the teacher was like, stop lying, Meagan. And I was like, why do I have to be lying? And it was just kind of always that situation. But the girl gave him back like 3 years later and apologized. I didn't punch her.
You got some anger issues. Now, hopefully you.
I did not punch her.
But you thought about it.
At that time, I don't know. I'm not aggressive in that way. I'm one of those people who, if you continue to mess with me and you get me to a certain point, then I'm upset that you got me to that point, because it takes so much for me. I'm so like, it ain't that serious.
So let me get this straight. The June box is something, if the teacher takes something from you in September, October, November, they place it in this June box, and at the end of the year when school is over, you get to get it back.
Yes. Yes.
So she took your coins that your father had given you. Obviously, your mom and dad's not together, so it holds a little bit more sentimental value to you because he's not around every single day.
Yeah.
She places it in that.
Yep.
And then
she didn't keep no records, or maybe she did, but she gave them to another
I stole
kid.
it back.
If I knew where that girl lived, maybe.
You said in Santa Clarita, where you grew up at, a lot of times you were the only black child.
Yeah.
And so obviously, if you're the only black child in that area, probably you're going to be one of a handful of in that high school. So did you deal with a lot of racism in high school, or with just isolated incidents?
Well, definitely in elementary school, quite a bit. And then in junior high, a little bit. That's around when kids started busting in,
right.
Like black kids started busting in. But then it was kind of like in the beginning, it was like the black kids was like, "Why you talk like that?" And I'm like, "Talk like what?" They're like you white. I'm like, "I don't talk like I'm white." They're like, "Yes, you do." I'm like, "How?" So, anyways, as I sound so crazy right now with my voice going high, but anyway, so I think for me, I almost felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere, kind of growing up, which I think actually worked to my benefit, because then I just kind of learned how to be authentically myself and unapologetically in that, but also how to be a chameleon and get along with anyone and go in any space and be comfortable.
How old were you in the role in Friday?
13.
13.
Yeah.
And, you had the scene, the ice cream truck with Big Worm.
Yeah.
And so, what was it like? Because, Chris Tucker, Ice Cube, Faison, John Witherspoon, Bernie Mac.
Yes.
Were you on the set with any of those guys other than Chris Tucker and Ice Cube?
Yeah. What's crazy is at that time, Michael Clarke Duncan was Tiny Lester's stand-in. Mm-hmm. And, F. Gary Gray was 25 years old, first movie. And basically for those two scenes that I had in the movie, I was probably on set for almost 3 weeks waiting to shoot my scenes.
Wow.
And so I spent a lot of time with everybody. But one thing I'll never forget is Tiny, I was eating a tuna sandwich and he said, "Can I have one?" I said, yeah. So I went and I made him one and I came back. And then Michael was like, "Well, where's mine?" And I was like, "Well, you didn't ask for one." He was like, "Yeah, but you didn't ask me if I wanted one." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then he said to me, "Just remember, as you go along in your career, make sure you treat every single person on set the same exact way. Everybody has a role and everybody has a job and everybody is important." And I was like, right. And that stuck with me. So I always did that and I've always done that. And then it was really cool to do Debs with Michael Clarke Duncan when I was 22, all those years later. And he was a wonderful person. Yeah.
Did you know Friday would be the cult classic? It's one of the black films. If you got 5 black films, and there are a lot of them, Friday's going to be in that collection.
Yeah.
Did you know what you were shooting at the time?
I didn't. I just was so happy to be there and to have a real line on camera in a movie. I was so nervous during my scene. There was a few times where Chris had to be like, "It's your line. It's your line. It's your line." I'm like, "Right. Man, I hate him." I was just so nervous. And and the one time he said, "You ain't got but one line. Just say your line." I was like, right. But he became like a big brother to me after that.
Right.
But yeah, I had no idea what it was going to become.
And then Eve's Bayou.
Eve's Bayou, yeah.
With Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well, that was the next year when I was 14. And I'll never forget that there was a table read about 4 years prior. And I was 10 at the time. So I was actually playing Eve in the table read. And Samuel Jackson was still playing the father role. I think Maya Campbell was playing my role. And I forget who else was there. But the point is after that, I was like, great. So when are we going to shoot this movie? And Miss Casey was basically like, well, we got to, get the funding for it first. So every year I'd be like, Miss Casey, we get funding. And finally, when they got funding, I was 14. So I was like, okay, I have to get Cicely. I have to be, And so I went in, I got Cicely, which was beautiful. And then I remember Journey coming in and 4 years prior, I had guest starred on Our Own.
Okay.
And played Jussie's love interest and had my first on-camera kiss with him and all that. And so I remembered Journey and I was like, oh my gosh. And then we just totally vibed out in the audition and then we ended up getting it together and then we were talking about Poe in the room and I was like, oh, Journey's got a little brother that's the exact same age as Poe. And then Casey went out there and saw him and then then it's me journey date. So.
Were there any roles early on that your parents wouldn't allow you to do?
I'm sure there would have been, but I think my mom just kind of always instilled in me, like, don't do anything you're not comfortable with. Don't compromise yourself in any way. If you can look yourself in the mirror, then you're okay. But if you can't, it's not worth it. It's not that serious. God will bring you something better. And so growing up, every time I turned down something that I wanted to do, but I wasn't willing to do the nudity, or I wasn't willing to do this or that, God always did bring something better. So.
Has that always been your ethos? Has that always been the
Yes.
way you thought, and says, like, you know what, at the end of the day, I still have to be able to look at myself and feel good about myself?
1,000%. Because I don't want fame or any type of success at the expense of losing my soul or not feeling good about who I am. It is not that serious. It just ain't, you know what I'm saying? And so I think as long as I keep my integrity and my authenticity, what's supposed to be mine will come to me. And I think it'll come to me even easier because you weed out the things that you don't need to be concerned with anyways.
Do you feel you've missed out on some roles because of the way you feel that you won't compromise your integrity?
No.
What's meant to be is going to be.
What's meant to be is going to be. And if I had done those roles, would I feel as good as I feel now? Would I have the peace that I have in my heart now? No. And that you can't buy that. That's not for sale.
I've interviewed a lot of people that were kid actors, and a lot of them have some bad stories to tell.
Sure.
Did you have any bad stories? I mean, I remember you had the one director that you said that he yelled at you. But outside of that, were there anything that you like that made you even maybe second guess, was like, maybe this isn't for me because of this yelling and all the belittling and the carrying on? I don't know if it's for me.
No, because I started doing it so young that it was the world I knew and the world that I lived in.
Okay.
So when I saw things that I didn't like, I just stayed away from it. Or if I saw people who had bad energy or were desperate for attention or whatever it was, I just kind of stayed out of their way and did my own thing. And so it's all I've ever known. It's the job that I've had my entire life. So I understand some of the things that come with it. I just don't concern myself with those things.
You've been Meagan Good, famous,
Right.
basically your entire life.
Right.
Did you wish that you could do some of the other things that kid could do? Because you couldn't do, because you were on television, you were in commercials, so you just couldn't go play and you just couldn't go hang out with your friends. And by the looks of it, didn't like you had a whole lot of friends. You run them off.
I had friends. I do. Look, my best friend and I've been best friends for 27 years.
Y'all still besties?
Most of my friends I've had for 20 years plus.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're
So you know they true.
Oh man, they're just quality human beings, like some of God's greatest gifts to my life, truly. I think the only thing I missed out on was the college experience, which I kind of went back and forth on because that would have meant that I would have had to take a break.
Right.
And then I also had the mentality of like, so many of the things that I want to learn under people who are actively doing it for a living. Right. And then I think I really would have wanted to do the reunions, like the 10-year reunion. Yeah. I just love stuff like that. And yeah.
So, but you, did you have sleepovers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we weren't really allowed to sleep over anyone else's house.
But they could come.
But yeah, I mean, in that sense, there was always time to play, to find time to hang out. My mom was definitely particular about who would obviously be their parents and all those things. But in that sense, that part of it was pretty normal outside of people recognizing you. So,
in other words, to make a long story short, that you don't feel that you missed out on anything, even though you've had this long career and, you was at TV shows, you was at movies, and like a lot of normal kids. Did you ever want to play sports?
I'm very athletic. And I do love sports, but I don't think so. I think I always knew I wanted to do drama.
This is what you always wanted.
Yeah, and then I tried dance for a while, but I just was not good at it. So, yeah, my older sister Lamaya and my younger sister Lexi are both phenomenal dancers, but I was just like, yeah, that's not you. That's not the gift the Lord has given you, Meagan, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
You got served.
Yeah.
So now the movies are starting to come with greater regularity. It's like you're working. You wrap one and you're starting another. Wrap that one, starting another, because you had a stretch where you for like a decade.
Right.
You were in a couple of movies a year.
Right. Yeah.
So now you're like, okay, Did you ever like, man, your girl doing it? You don't think that's not your personality?
No, I think I had one moment where I did this movie and it was such an all-star cast, and I just thought, okay, this is going to be the one, and you know, I'm going to be out of here. And this person who had did so many films that just always were #1 box office hits, this was the one that flopped.
Oh.
And I just thought to myself, I was just praying about it, and I was just like, I didn't have the right heart. The right, like, you know what I'm saying? My mind wasn't right about it. It was like, this is the one that's going to get you out of here. It's like, what does that mean? What does out of here mean? What is it that you are trying to accomplish in your mind in that moment? And so I really had to check myself on that and really ask myself, like, what do I want? You know, what is my intention?
Right.
And so, so I've never approached anything like that ever again.
Forget what the calendar says. Football season is right around the corner, and that means Best Ball Week at DraftKings isn't far behind. Here's what you need to know. DraftKings Best Ball Millionaire Contest is the biggest fantasy contest ever. We're talking $15 million in guaranteed prize pool with two millionaires crowned for the first and second place. If you're a set it and forget it type, then Best Ball is for you. No waiver wires, no roster management, bigger rosters so injuries won't end your season. Only the draft, and that's it. You're set for the season. Still not convinced? Check this out. This year, DraftKings is offering everyone Draft One, Get One special. Your $20 entry fee scores bonus ticket. Get ready for Best Ball Week at DraftKings. Download the DraftKings app. Use code Shannon. That's code Shannon for all customers who enter the Best Ball 15 Millionaire Contest to get bonus ticket. Only the Best Ball Week, only at DraftKings. Deliver us from evil. You got served. Roll bounce. Stomp the yard.
Yeah.
But it was really Think Like a Man.
Oh, yeah.
With Kevin Hart, Chris Brown, Gabrielle Union, Regina Hall, Taraji, Terrence J, Gary Owen, Steve Harvey.
Yes.
That was an all-star cast.
Yes.
That's a lot of personalities.
Yes, yes.
Everybody's like important. Feel they're important.
Amen.
Meagan, how do you fit in? How do you blend in? Like, okay, I'm here. Obviously, they think I'm important because I'm here.
Right.
But obviously, Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart, Steve Harvey, Taraji is Taraji. So how do you fit in, but in the same time you stand out?
You be humble and you be authentic. Nobody can be you the way that you can be you, and nobody can bring what you bring to the table the way that you bring it. If you stay in your lane and you do you, then you will stand out, because that is you. There's nobody else in the world like you. But if you stay humble, you learn from others, you're able to teach, you're able to enjoy the space, the time with everyone. I don't believe in competition by any means. And so for me, I'm really a girl's girl, but I'm also, you know, a guy's girl, where I genuinely want to see everybody win. As much of a Leo as I am, I also am a very, like, if somebody, you know, if somebody wants to shine a certain way, I'm like, by all means, you got it. Because I don't care, because for me, I have a lot of self-love and a lot of, like, just, you know, I just know who I am, and that's enough for me. And so, yeah, I'm just very peaceful in all situations, on all sets, with all people.
I read that the very first time that you were in Vegas is that you were filming this movie. Is that true?
No.
You had gone to Vegas before?
Many, many times.
Oh, so hold on, wait a minute.
Many, many, many times. What?
See, you got a lot of secrets.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
A few?
Of course. Of course. Every lady has secrets. Yeah.
So when you're filming this movie, you understand all the characters, and, like, remember you said there was a movie before that you like, this is the one that's going to get me out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know how successful that Think Like a Man? Did you know it was going to be?
I think I had an inkling, but I didn't go into it with that. What I went into it with was, this is my first opportunity to really figure out, like, the comedy part of it, because comedy terrified me.
Really?
I was used to playing the straight man. I was used to doing more drama and all of that. So in Think Like a Man, when Tim Story kind of gave me the opportunity to just, like, add things in and to try different things and see if they work and see if it was funny, and, you know, throw a bunch of stuff up against the wall, and sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. But he allowed me the freedom and space to learn how to just jump and to know that that's the only way you're going to find the funny.
Right. And
from there, you know, that experience and Think Like a Man alone, Tim's story really set me up for Harlem. You know, he really was the teacher in the space that allowed me to figure out that my funny doesn't have to be like anybody else's
Right.
funny. I learned that my funny is awkward funny, you know? And so as I lean into my own brand of what comedy is, you know, the right people respond to it, they respond to it.
Right.
But that's all I went into it with, was just like, okay, I just gotta like get free on this, and I just gotta, you know, conquer this kind of comedy thing and just have fun with it. So
You shoot it, it wraps.
yeah.
Premiere.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind?
It came out so good. I'm so proud of it. People laughed at the things I added in, like, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And just being thankful to be alongside people that are great and gracious, and people that I love. I've known Gabrielle since I was like 14. You know, Taraji I've known forever, since like right after she did Baby Boy. I mean, Regina Hall, I mean, I just love her to pieces. When I was going in for Harlem, I called Regina and I was like, look, I'm about to go test for this. Will you run these lines with me? Because I want to know what you think. And she was like, girl, but you funny. I was like, yeah, but you the best.
Right.
So I just want to see what you think, blah, blah, blah. Michael Ealy, who I absolutely adore. Kevin, who I mean, that whole cast, Terrence, my brother, like everybody is just people who are great actors, great talent, and great human beings.
Do you do anything in particular to help you get into character when you play a role?
Yeah, it depends on the character. It depends on where I need to go to find this person's experience, to understand their mentality, to figure out their trauma or figure out their greatest passion.
Right.
So whatever research that is, and sometimes it's researching a person as a character study.
Right.
Sometimes it's researching personality types, or, you know, whatever it may be. But yeah, I just, you know.
Because you know your role, you was like really tough. You were like guys, you were like... And so,
Thank you.
I mean, I read that, you know, to help you get into this character, you abstained.
Well, I was abstaining already.
Oh, so it's really
happened.
easy for you to play that part.
Yes. I actually had just decided to become celibate and had been celibate for months at that time with my ex-husband.
Right.
And I decided to become celibate before him. And then when we got together, come to find out he was celibate. And then I got this movie. And I was like, well, I know exactly what she's doing right now, because I'm literally living this. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. The Lord, you know what He doing.
He be knowing.
Yes, He did.
Now you do Anchorman with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Could you do those jokes now?
Which ones?
I mean, the same jokes that you told. Like,
The
comedy.
black jokes?
Yeah, I mean, the comedy, you know, like.
Oh,
when-
comedy shifted quite a bit.
Yeah,
I think people
man.
have gotten very, very sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's you know, to me, most of it, I understand some of it, but I also feel that it's taken away so much of the artistry and the things that we laugh about amongst ourselves at home anyways. It's just gotten very, very sensitive for me, which I think is unfortunate, because it takes away a lot of the art.
Right.
And comedy is art. It's a very specific kind of gift. And I think the best version of that is when you're talking about real things,
Right.
you know? And so...
You take real events and make them funny.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, stuff in Anchorman was funny as hell,
Right.
you know, but I know to some people it was offensive. I am very inappropriate, and, you know, me and my sister laugh at stuff that's just wrong. We should not be laughing at.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. So I enjoy inappropriate comedy, and, you know.
You've kind of done a lot of different acting. Was there a particular genre that when you were growing up says, I kind of want to do this? I want to do drama. No, I
Right.
kind of want to do comedy. No, I kind of want to do horror. No, I kind of
Yeah.
want to do. Was there any particular genre, or
Yeah.
you just says like, hey, I can do it all. I'm wide ranging. So
Yeah.
hey, let me try.
A little bit of both, but I do love horror movies.
Really?
I do love thrillers. I've been in a lot of them.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I'll be looking at this and be like, well, how am I dying in this one? This is going to be fun. You know, I'm gonna have my eyes
Saw
closed.
5, Venom,
Yeah.
The Unborn, One Missed Call.
Yeah. I just love them. I think that growing up, one of the things that really made me want to be an actress was the little girl who played Jamie in the Michael Myers movie.
Oh, okay.
And me and her were about the same age. I think she's about a year older than me. And I just thought, does nobody else realize this little girl is really acting? Like, if you go back and watch it now, her performance stands up. And it's unfortunate that there's not an award for that, because she acted her ass off. But it's interesting because survival is one of the highest things that we can feel and experience outside of love, you know? And I think that figuring out, you know, how a character is going to survive and all the different things that you go through as you are in a space of just literally trying to make it, I think really interesting. And I just kind of love that world, and I like to be scared, and I like the inappropriate things, as I said. And so, yeah, I think I always was just like, I just want to get a good scream in. I just want to be stabbed in the chest and be climbing up the stairs. I just want to, like, you know, just something crazy. It just makes me happy. I don't know why.
You do know, Meagan, like, when we do those horror movies, we don't really make it to the end.
But see, one day we will, but one day we shall overcome. But for me, I actually was excited about the diocese.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, but not the first one.
Well, only one Miss Calder that died in the first scene, and they shot that after the fact as a cameo for the beginning opening thing. And I thought, well, this is really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
But horror, all things being equal, you love the drama, you love the comedy, but it's the horror. And the horror and the thriller. How do you, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how do you tap into that? How do you, like, oh, let me go in here, and you hear.
Because, like I said, survival is one of the greatest human emotions.
Yeah.
You know, we're all doing that every single day.
Yeah.
And then in a heightened circumstance, I think that it's interesting when you discover what you would and what wouldn't do, or you discover what a character would and wouldn't do. But my characters, the ones that I played, it ain't been no, like, hello? You know, not all that. No. I wouldn't even do that if it was in the script. I'd be like, y'all, come on. Yeah. So.
You in Three Strikes with three strikes with Monique, Faison Love, David Allen Greer, E40, Mike Epps, Anthony Anderson. What's it like working with Mo? I've had Mo on here, and in Precious.
Yeah.
You know, TV show. Mo is unbelievable. I don't know your relationship with her, but I thought she's unbelievable
incredible
in all of her roles. Yeah. And I think she has a good heart.
I do too. I do too. I mean, I don't keep up with all the things. Right. People are people, and honestly, people be miserable. And I'm just like, please get your whole life. Just stop projecting your things. Go get help, or just, you know, let somebody give you a hug and love on you. That's that. And I'm saying that about people who say stuff about her, not about her. I think that she's wonderful. I think she has a beautiful heart. She has always been kind to me and goes out of her way to love on me, and has always been consistent with me no matter what I had going on. That's it for me. I don't care about nothing else.
That's how you judge a person, by how they treat you.
Yes, that's it. And how they treat my mama if they meet my mama.
Right.
But I don't care about all the other stuff, because that's other people's stuff. So.
You and Obama effect with Katt. Yeah. What's it like working with Katt on set?
Katt's sweetheart. He's a sweetheart. I seen his interview. He's a sweetheart. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Katt's
But that's what I am gonna say. What? I'm sorry, but my man is sexy to me.
Yeah.
Okay, he's very, very sexy.
Okay.
To me.
I forgot.
We just need to be all the way clear on that.
You know what? I forgot all about that. I forgot all about that.
It's all good.
Okay. The TV shows that you've been in: The Game, Star, Moesha, Law and Order, Cold Case, damn, Famous, Jet Jackson, Touched by an Angel, Parody, Harlem, Raising Dad with Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Of all the shows, I mean, Law and Order is still going. Moesha was unbelievable. Yeah. What was your favorite? What was your favorite show that you was in?
Ooh, I have to say Harlem.
Really?
Yeah, and it's because, well, first of all, it's the best experience I've had as an actress in my entire life, hands down. I love Tracy Oliver, the creator of the show. I love, Mimi, Pharrell, Amy, Kim, Scott. I mean, just everybody who was a part, everyone who's a part of creating that show. And I love the girls in that show very, very much. I absolutely adore every single one of them, genuinely. They are my sisters. And to have that relationship, to come onto a set, I remember me and Grace Byers talking about some kind of like horror stories and things that we've been through. And we sat there on the couch and we barely knew each other, and I was doing her show that she was doing, and afterwards we sat and prayed together, and we just said, I hope to God that we get to do a show together, because we will cover each other and love each other, and it would be the best experience ever. Cut to a year and a half later, she's cast as Quinn. I'm getting ready to go in and test for Camille, and as I'm going to test, I meet Jerry, who plays Ty, and me and Jerry instantly, I'm like, oh, I love this girl. I absolutely adore her. And then I go to the bathroom and I'm running my lines, and Shaniqua walks in, and Shaniqua goes, you remember me? And I said, from where? She said, about 4 years ago, I was on FaceTime where you were working on the show, and it was that show that I had that bad experience on. And she said, and I had a mutual friend, and he called me, and I told you I was a fan of yours and I loved you and I wanted to work with you one day. You said, let's place both our hands on the screen, let's claim it in Jesus' name that we're going to work together on something. And there we were, both testing, and we both got it. And so it just, everything about the writing, I love the character. I love how I've grown as an actress. I love working with them. I love everybody involved in creation, down to the crew. Everybody in the crew I absolutely adore. It's just been the best experience.
I don't think I haven't heard you speak, but you seem you're a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
When did this come about? Have you always been like this?
Yeah. Well, I didn't grow up in the church. Okay. When I was about 12, I started going to a youth group that my acting coach, shout out to Carnetta Jones, was my acting coach from age 11 to 26. And she was a youth group leader. Okay. And it was called God's Gang, which is now the name of my production company. And I had some friends, there were 2 girls in school especially, who looked out for me when people would try to bully me. And those 2 girls and one of their older sister and a 5-year-old girl they were babysitting, and another friend of theirs left youth group that night and got into a car accident. And their friend passed away. The little girl who was about to turn 6 passed away. One of the girl's older sister, she passed away too, that's right. And then the girl whose younger sister it was that used to look out for me, she got severe brain damage. And the other girl who used to look out for me had to get reconstructive surgery and all this stuff. But we went to this, I forget what it's called, where you kind of like go out into the, woods and you camp and stuff and you pray and blah, blah. Right. And I remember that night her like calling out to God and crying and saying, why? And then she got saved that night. And so I was just like, well, how do you go to God instead of away from God when something like that happens? Right. And it just made me curious. And because I had so much respect for her, and because she had looked out for me the way that she had, shout out to Alicia, wherever you are in the world, love you. It kind of put me on my path. Her example did. And so, after that, I became a Christian, and then I was like a Bible stomper and like super religious and very judgmental. I remember when my sister lost her virginity. I was 14, she was 16. I went to her, I was like, I just don't want you to go to hell. Like I was that kid. None of my friends told me when they lost their virginity. Everyone was like, don't tell Meagan, Of course, I was the last to lose my virginity at 19. And then at that time, I kind of, there's all these phases of getting to know God and maturing. My prayer used to be like, please let me look like one of the lead seekers from In Vogue. He actually answered that prayer. Shout out to In Vogue. But then, as you get older, your prayers mature, your relationship with God matures. You start to get perspective and learn. And so mine has always been a journey, and these last 2 years has been especially a journey, but it's such an incredible journey. The place that I'm in now, where I just have such a freedom in God and just such a trust that God knows my heart and knows who I am even better than I do. And so, it's been a really beautiful place, a really beautiful journey.
Is the last 2 years where your faith has been tested the most?
For sure. Not this past year. This past year, I'm like, Lord, I know you're going to do what you do, and I trust you. And making sure that I was there to give that to Jonathan. That's what I felt that I was there to do. Yeah. My faith has never wavered in that, in that instance. But going through the divorce, that shook me to my core. I was just like, but Lord, you asked me to be celibate, and I was. You told me who to marry. I married that person. I try to do everything to the best of my ability, and no, I didn't do everything perfect, but I don't know that I could have done anything different, if I'm being honest. And so I was just like, why is this happening? My greatest fear was for my husband to leave me after 10 years of marriage, the way that my dad and my mom separated. And that's exactly what happened. And it was just like, I don't understand this. And so it was a lot of prayer, a lot of evaluation, a lot of learning about myself even. It was a lot of realizing the place that we both were in. It was a lot of just like rediscovering God and realizing that sometimes the way that we see or understand things, it's not that it's not true. It's just you do come into different seasons. And I had to accept that if this isn't something I've chosen, but it's something that God has allowed, then God has allowed it for a good reason. And I think that we both have grown from it tremendously. I think that now, I think that at the time I was so mad at DeVon, but now I think what he did was very brave. And I think that it was a very scary thing to know that the church and all the people, everyone was going to be like, well, this is not what a man of God or a woman of God does,
Right.
And of course there were a lot of people who were like, well, Meagan must have done something. And I'm like, what? But I think that in order to grow to the place that we've grown, I think we absolutely were supposed to be married for that amount of time. And I think we got the best and the benefit out of it. And I think he taught me a lot and I taught him a lot. And we took a lot, we gave a lot. But we're still friends. And as he said, the love is, transitioned into something else, but it's still love. And I don't regret anything. And I'm super thankful for the time that we were married. And I'm super thankful for what I learned. And I think that I love now in a different capacity, because when your absolute worst fear happens, now there's nothing to be afraid of anymore.
In that situation, you like, I prayed for this. I was everything, God, everything you asked me to do, I did.
Yeah.
Did you feel at that moment that as the marriage is starting to dissolve, did you feel like a failure?
No, I don't think so, because I feel like we had almost 10 successful years of marriage. I feel like I got so much from it that has made me better and has helped me grow. And I feel that he feels the same way. Right. So I don't feel like it was a failure by any means. I just didn't understand it. Because I was like, but this, you say forever, it means forever.
Right.
And that wasn't the case, But I think that part is the part that I struggle with the most, because I would have never gotten a divorce under any circumstances.
Really?
And I don't know if that's always the right thing,
right.
And it's not that anything bad was going on. Nobody was cheating, nothing and I won't get into why we divorced, right. But I don't know if being married for the sake of just
societal, because society says you.
Well, because religion,
yeah.
I think you really have to have a relationship with God and see how God is moving you. And sometimes it's not going to make sense to anybody else. And that's okay. It's not for it to make sense to anybody else. You just have to be in tune with
prior to you being married to someone, a minister.
Yeah.
You being being a woman of faith, belief.
Yeah.
Would you have felt this way had you not grown through that? About not necessarily like being married.
Oh no, I think I still would have been like, no, you get married. It says in the word, y'all better work it out. You better figure it out. You better do something.
Okay.
And I think if you can, you should.
Right.
But again, I think that sometimes God moves us in ways that it may seem contradictory to other people's perception or how they see or read the word or literally what it says. But I think that's why we have to be very clear on having a relationship with God, not just a religion with God. We have to be very clear on hearing from God And that's got to be the compass, period. The relationship with God, and not the relationship where you're not really hearing that and you just want to do what you want to do and you want a reason to do it or an excuse to do it, but really knowing if that's what you're hearing God to tell you to do, no matter what anybody thinks or anyone says, you got to move the way God's telling you to. And that's just that.
Outside of your closest friends, your support, do people or did people know that you had such a close relationship with God?
I think people see what they want to see. If you go back to every men's magazine that I was on the cover of and you realize that I never wore a bathing suit, I never wore lingerie, and then you look in those interviews from 1999, 2001, 2004, 2000, you will always see that I always said, I am a Christian, I believe in God, I'm not going to do anything that would disappoint God, God is my compass. I've always talked about God. And I think that sometimes when people go, oh, well, it's the cover of a men's magazine. Well, for me, that's not a conviction of mine. I don't feel that God is concerned with what I'm wearing. And so if that is not my conviction, it says in the Bible, he who has faith have it to himself before God. Happy is he who does not condemn himself in what he proves. Meaning, and then it goes on to talk about if you don't really believe that that's what God approves, then you are sinning. But if you really believe that between you and God, then that's that, period. That's what that is for you. And so that's the tattoo I have on my hand, which even that is like, oh, you shouldn't pierce your butt. Well, for me, it's a reminder to not go too far down the religious rabbit hole,
right,
and stay in the relationship with God. God, what do you say?
Right.
And so for me, I never had a conviction about that kind of thing. My feeling was like, I want to get these words that I'm saying about God and how much I love God and how God is the head of my life. I want to get this to the people who are going to pick up this magazine, because I'm not going to get to them any other way. And most of the other people in the church, they're not going to get to them at all.
Right.
So if I feel comfortable and I don't feel like I'm doing something wrong, then I'm just going to be authentically me, and I'm going to reach other people that other people don't, just by being who I'm called to be and being authentically that.
Before you take a role, do you always pray on it?
Majority of the time. Sometimes I just feel in my spirit, I'm like, okay, good. I feel good about this. If I'm not sure, then I pray about it. If I've ever felt that God's like, no, that's not what I want you to do, then I just won't do it, period.
Wow.
Even if I want to do it, period, I won't do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's easy. It's easy when you have that kind of faith and you say you've been walking, since you were about 19?
I've been saved since I was 12.
12.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lost your virginity at 19. So you've been on this road. You've been on this road for the better part of 2 decades.
Yeah.
So the highs and the lows, you never question, like, it's God's will, and whatever he decides, whatever his will.
Yeah, I think that I have to accept that, because you can't accept one thing and not accept the other. And so I trust God, and even like, when the divorce happened, I was mad at God. I was like, what the hell? Like, I was so mad, but I was just like.
But you never questioned it.
I didn't question if I was going to be okay. I questioned, well, why do it?
Right.
What was the point? And
allow us
over
to come
time,
together, and then here we are.
Yeah, and then also I was like, you knew this was my worst fear. Like, why? And then, over the years, and it's almost been like 3 years now. So, over the years, I'm always revealed a lot more. And every time I'm revealed a lot more, I'm just really in gratitude and thankful that I married someone that was so wonderful and that is so wonderful, and that we had that time and that we grew together and just all the things. Right. And so I don't believe that anything's in vain. That's probably the only moment where I was just like, okay, Lord,
Right.
But now I'm like, okay, Lord. Thank you.
The days are warmer, the walks are longer, and one easy way to help your dog shine this season is with fresh, healthy food from Farmer's Dog. Farmer's Dog makes fresh, real food and delivers it right to your door. Recipes are developed by vet nutritionists, made from real meat and veggies, and proportioned just for your dog, making it easy to say goodbye to burnt brown balls. Feed your dog real food with real benefits. My Pomeranian Teddy loved the stuff, and his coat has never looked better. It's smart, healthy pet food you can feel good about feeding your pup. And it's the best option for your dog of all life stages because it's not kibble, it's not canned goo, it's real healthy food. And it doesn't matter if your dog is young or old, it's always the right time to begin investing in their health. That means more happy, healthy, full years together. Get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food from farmersdog.com/Shay Shay. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to farmersdog.com/Shay Shay to get 50% off. That's farmersdog.com/Shay Shay. Have any actresses given you tips? I remember I had Terry Crews on here and he said that he was struggling, remembering his lines and going through his line.
Yeah.
And he said, Tashina Arner said, why don't you sing them? Say, Terry, you like to sing?
Yeah.
Why don't you just sing them, memorize them like that?
Yeah.
Have anybody given you pointers to help you relax so it just
The
feels
best
nice?
advice I ever got was from Lorenz Tate on Waist Deep. And I was nervous about this scene. I was trying to get into it. We'd already taken like 2 takes. And he just grabbed me. He was like, sis. I was like, yeah. He was like, fuck it. Fuck it. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, just fuck it. And I realized that he was like, just don't overthink it. Just, it's in you. It'll come out. Don't try to get there. Don't try to figure it out. Just live and breathe it, and it's just going to come right out of you.
Right.
And it did. And so now I tell that, you know, when I'm around younger actresses or actors, I'm like, fuck it. It'll come. It's in you. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't in you. So.
I read that you said that, I think you were about 10 or 14, that you've been your family's provider from the time that you were like 14?
To some degree,
To some
yeah.
degree.
I mean, my mom managed my sister and I.
Yeah.
So, you know, we went out, we did our thing. My sister was in a big singing group, ISIS at the time in the 90s, and they had 2 big hits.
Yeah.
And so me and her both, you know, but at a certain point in time, you know, as things fluctuate and things are happening, you know, and for clarity, my father has always paid child support.
And then go back and hit him up.
No, we got to be clear. My daddy's always paying child support. But yeah, for a long time, a lot of the income that was coming in the house was you know,
Generated by-
primarily, just working.
How did that
So-
make you feel? I mean, because like I remember growing up and working, I was making $25, $30 a week, working 5.5, 6 days a week. And I remember coming home and giving my grandmother $10, $15. It's not much, but it
Right.
was, and I looked at myself like, man, I'm 9, 10 years old. I'm a provider. And it gave me a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And to this day, that's what I am. I'm a provider for my family.
Yeah.
Did that give you a sense of accomplishment? Because you're a child. At the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
still a child.
Yeah.
And a lot of what's coming into the home is courtesy of you.
Well, I looked at it like my mother, before that time, had did everything on her own with an older brother who had special needs, and then me and my sister, and then ultimately when she remarried, you know, my stepbrother, and then she adopted my younger sister when I was 14. I was 4 years from being out of the house, and so my mother has been such a provider for everybody on every level. That it was nothing for me to want to do it for her. And then also, you know, again, she was doing the work. She was managing us. And,
Right.
and when me and my sister said, you know, can you quit your job? We want to pursue this full time. She had to have enough faith to be like, okay, I believe that my children can do it and we can keep this household afloat. So, you know, even when I was working, there was times when I wasn't working and Lamaya was overseas touring with her group and she would come home and she'd bring her money home. And so our household was just one of whoever's got it is all of ours. We take care of each other. We are, you know, a tribe and we always protect and take care of each other, you know? And so, there was definitely a sense of accomplishment, but it also was a sense of like, safety and just knowing that we always look after each other and we always will look after each other.
You, are there any actors in Hollywood? No, before I get to that, you said like the pay. Because you hear a lot of, you know, you hear Taraji, you hear Monique, you hear a lot of black, Viola Davis, who has the EGOT.
Yeah.
We hear a lot of black actors, actresses talking about the discrepancy in pay.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
For sure. For sure. It's interesting because, you know, I remember talking to Jonathan about a project and he asked me what my quote was. And I told him and he was like, no. He was like, absolutely not. No. And I kind of knew, but I also was like, I know how much I've worked my life to even get to that point.
Right.
But the discrepancy is a discrepancy. And it actually disappoints me that people have, made fun of Taraji or whoever, like crying and saying, because it's not right. And people don't realize that they're like, oh, well, you're an actress, you're rich and famous, you're wearing nice dresses and rings and stuff. And I'm like, no, baby doll, let me explain something to you. We go to work sometimes 15, 18 hours a day. And the energy, the work that we do, the giving that we give of ourselves, everything around it is a lot of work. And then not just that, you walk out of the house and you work a lot more just walking down the street or doing press for a project. And you see people and athletes, whatever, is getting paid what they get paid for their talent and their work ethic and everything they bring to the table. Why do Black actresses not deserve that? And we are working very, very, very hard. I've worked hard my entire life. I have never not worked hard.
Right.
So, especially in the realm of when it's being compared to what other people are getting. I remember this same show I'm telling you about. I was the lead on that show, but I was number 2 on the call sheet. And the guy who was number 1, who was a white gentleman, such a sweetheart, an incredible human being, he was like, this isn't right. He was like, you should be number 1 on the call sheet. And I was like, yeah, I know. But it's just, there's so much of that people have to speak up. And, and it's unfortunate that they have to be somewhat of a martyr for people to start paying attention.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, don't just pay attention. Y'all do something about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it is a big thing, and it's really not right. And it's really not cool. And, and what I will say, thinking about Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry is the first person to pay me what I should get paid.
Wow.
First person. And did not blink an eye. He said, how much do you want? I said, let me talk to my team, really quick. And he's like, just tell me how much you want. I was like, Tyler, I said, let me just, because I wasn't quite sure what to ask for. And then, I was talking to Jonathan, and he was like, you should ask for this. And I was like, no, I can't ask for that. And I was like, I don't like, it's like, it's almost a mentality. And then going back to the child actor syndrome too, it's like, I don't want to lose the job.
Right.
But it's like, you forget what an asset you are.
But sometimes they make you sometimes they make you feel like you should be grateful that we even offered you the job.
Right.
And you should take whatever we're offering you.
Right.
As opposed to saying, well, she's talented. There's a reason why we're offering her the job. Yeah. And let's pay her a fair wage.
Yeah. And so I asked Tyler, and he said, I was going to give you that anyways. And I was like, oh. And then I started crying. And then I couldn't stop.
Were you crying? Let me see. I'm gonna let you tell me why you started crying, and then I'm gonna tell you why I think you started crying. Why did you start crying?
Because I felt valued. I felt like someone wasn't just sitting there and telling me I'm valuable. They were actually showing me. Because actions obviously are much bigger than words. And because he was excited to do it for me. And then he said, I want to make sure you, and he named a few other people, who's like, you guys have been doing this all your lives, and you should get what you deserve. And I'm going to make sure that you get it. And that's the kind of person that Tyler is. And so just that feeling of feeling valued and someone not just saying it, but proving it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You started crying for the very first time somebody saw the value in Meagan Good, and they paid you accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get emotional thinking about it, don't you?
I do, because I do feel that a lot of people see the value in me, and some don't, but a lot of people do see the value in me, but it doesn't mean that they're going to treat me as
compensate you accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have this persona. People look at you as like the cute girl, the cute lady.
Right.
You try to live that down.
What you mean?
You cut your hair. I mean, people saw you.
Oh, yeah.
you cut your hair.
Yeah.
Because did you feel that in order for you to be taken serious?
Yeah.
This was a step?
Well, I had this long kind of hair that I wore often, and I just think that people were like, oh, she's, the cute girl, the pretty girl, the sexy girl, the girl next door, the love interest. And I just realized in order for me to get out of that space, I had to show up differently.
Right.
And you know, and so that's what I did, you know, and even then it still was a hard box to break out of, you know, but I look at stuff like Harlem and, you know, it ain't about the way I look at all. It's about who this woman is and all of her quirks and all of her truth and all of her searching and figuring out, and the roles that now I'm getting to play in my 40s. That has been incredible. I think that's the best part too, is like I truly am in the second act of my life, even though I've lived many lifetimes already.
Right.
And I'm excited for what's going to come out of me in this next year. What's going to come out of me in every performance because of the things I've experienced, what's going to come out of me when I have kids, what, you know, all those things, what's going to come out of me when, you know, I'm older woman, when I'm, you know, 60s, 70s, all of that's really exciting to me. So, yeah.
You mentioned Tyler Perry. You're in this new movie, Divorce in the New Black.
A Divorce in the Black.
Divorce in the Black.
Yeah.
Let me see.
What?
Because Divorce in the Black. So obviously, if I'm having to guess, you were divorced.
Yes.
You're a divorcee.
Oh, yes.
How much, having gone through that, were you able to fall back on and says, okay, and boom, here we go.
All of it. Because even though she's in a very different situation than I was in, it's still that reality of expecting that your life is going to go one way and then suddenly realizing it's going to go a totally different way. And then you are trying to figure out what you're supposed to do and having to learn yourself, but realizing that you've also changed and you've grown and then you having to kind of calibrate your mind to not be sad and not, you know, like you have to go through the sadness. You definitely have to go through the pain and the crying and the process, which is a process I think to some degree you never don't like not have it in some way, shape or form. As long as you don't let it make you bitter, you let it make you better. But the process that she had to go through to go, okay, now I'm in this next phase of life and I'm going to embrace this and I'm going to get excited about this and I'm going to figure out what I want and what makes me happy.
Right.
And having complete freedom after that to be like, okay, it's my world, what I want to do with it, you know? Right. And so I think many of the moments that Ava had, there's a scene where I'm running and, you know, it was just like I was just so there. I knew exactly where Ava was and I was just so there with her and I was pleased to be able to gift her with the realest, truest, rawest emotion of what that reality was.
Is it easier to play a role when you're familiar? Not just a character, but you're like, I've been there, I've done that. I actually know what a divorcee is going through in this very moment. I can tell you what it's like.
Yeah, I think it is easier, although there is your experience and their experience.
Yeah, because you might not have gone through the reason why she got divorced might not be the reason why you got the divorce. Right. So it has to be different. I mean, I'm reading that divorce, marriage gone wrong. Maybe it's domestic violence, maybe it's finances, or whatever the case may be. Right. But at the end of the day, is that big D.
Yes. Yeah, and the only difference is how does this person download and process it?
Yes.
Like, for instance, you know, with my character in Harlem, it's the first time where I go, oh, okay, she's a Gemini. So I'm going to pursue all Gemini traits. So if you come at her like this, Meagan might get indignant and be like, but a Gemini is actually going to go, wait a second, and get introspective and a totally different gear is going to hit for them. And so that's the only difference is even though I can understand where the character's at, distinguishing the difference between not just Ava and Meagan's journeys, but Ava and Meagan's mentalities and their bandwidth for pain and their how much did they, you know, hide from their family, how much did they share, what's the dynamic between her mother versus her, you know, all those things. That would probably be the only thing. But do I think it's easier in general? Yes, because you already have a leg up, because you already have such a rich well to pull from.
Should we view divorce as bad?
I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Prior to you going through divorce, how did you view divorce? But prior to it happening to you, how would you view it?
I felt like for any other reason besides domestic violence, I'm like, y'all better figure that out. But now I don't know. I think that what I experienced made me less judgmental about an experience that somebody else is having that I don't know what it is. And I can't say that it's bad or good for anybody. All I can say is that it hurt a lot for me, but I think that it also was a blessing to both of us in a way. And not because it happened, but because if it had to happen and that was a part of our story, we both got so much from it.
Did you feel you let people down?
Yes and no, because I think I felt that I let people down a bit with the weight, because, you know, I never said to someone, well, this is what I think you should do.
Right.
And I never pursued making the book like, look how I did it, guys. This is what you know, it was never that. It was always people asking and inquiring me, saying, oh, well, this is the spaces that I'm in. This is what God's telling me to do right now. And people being curious. And from that coming a book talking about our experience, not necessarily telling people to go do it, but saying this is why it worked for us. And this is why, you know, we believe in it. And I still believe in the weight. And I still believe that it worked for us. I think that what didn't work for us were the reasons why we ultimately, divorced. But I think that, I think the weight allowed us to get the full benefit. And I think it's the reason that we're still friends to this day. I think it's the reason that we walked into the room with both of our divorce attorneys and, you look great. Look at you. You've been working out. Yeah, you look great too. Da-da-da. How you doing? You know, and they looking like, y'all getting divorced?
Right.
And we're like, yeah. And they're like,
but you see,
okay, y'all just, okay, you know, and when they see us, you know, we see each other in the street, you know, people tense up around us and I'm like, how are you doing? You know, and it's just like, and it's genuine love. And I think a lot of that really is because of the weight and the way that we got to know each other and the quality of the human being and the trust that was there. Even if there, you know, was disappointment at the end, I can look at DeVon and say, that's a fucking good person.
wow.
And I'm thankful for that time.
Divorce in the Black will launch globally on Prime Video July 11th. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having
Meagan
me.
Good, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shall we? Thank you.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life.